to the net. Newcastle 1, Everton 1. And we are underway in the second half. Kick-off just happening as we ended that half-time report. As we said, not the highest quality first half you'll ever see. But again, it's a case of never mind the quality, feel the points as far as these sides are concerned this afternoon. 3 points, all important for the two of them towards the bottom end of the table, of course. 4 points separating the two sides at the start of play. And with Burnley losing as well, and Watford only drawing at the moment, the need to pull away from the bottom three is paramount for these two sides. Ball is out of play as Everton try and come forward, but some nice defending eases the ball out for a goal kick. Already had a goal elsewhere, by the way, in the Championship. Derby now leading Hull by 3-0. Forsyth and Lawrence in the first half, and they've already scored in the second with 2 minutes gone of the second period. In our game, Newcastle lining up with Dubravka in goal, Trippier, Lascelles, Share and Target the back four. Willock, Shelvey, Joe Linton across midfield, along with Fraser, Sam Maximan and Chris Wood as the central figure upfield. Already been 2 changes for Everton in the first half due to injuries. Yerry Mina and Damari Gray both forced off with thigh injuries. There's going to be a yellow card here brandished by Anthony Taylor inside the first minute and a half or so of the second period as Sam Maximan tried to get away. Gomez tried to swap shirts, then swap shorts, and a free kick in the end, and a yellow card as well for Andre Gomes. So he becomes the third Everton player to get a yellow card inside the first 47 minutes. Running down the Everton lineup in a second or two. It's myself, Steve Pearson, and Paul Szczerbakowicz bringing you this independent off-tube studio commentary as Newcastle have a free kick 5 yards or so inside the Everton half, very central position. Trippier over it to chip it forward right-footed up towards the edge of the penalty area. Keane will rise, but Wood beats him to it. Still not properly clear, bouncing around in the box, almost falls for Willock. He does get a shot in, but it's blocked straight in front of him. The ball cleared away and will go out for a Newcastle throw-in midway inside the Everton half. So the Everton lineup as it stands: Pickford in goal, Holgate, Keane and Branthwaite are now the back three. Coleman and Townsend are the two wing backs. Dele Alli in midfield alongside Andre Gomes, Alan and Anthony Gordon, with Richarlison leading the line as Newcastle get the ball into the box, but on this occasion Willock can't do anything with it. Too many defenders around, but a bright start at least from both sides on the front foot here, Paul.
Absolutely, a good, hopefully a good prognosis for the rest of the half, because at times the first half just seemed to sort of peter out, both sides cancelling each other out in midfield, almost a little bit too tentative to go forward, when really, based on what we've seen from the defending from both teams, both sides should feel we can go forward and try and get something in this game.
Yeah, challengers coming in on halfway, and the ball breaks away for Joe Linton, who had a couple of chances in the first half. One just a heavy touch that forced him away, and the other one he slipped after great work from Sam Maximan. Seemed to have unlocked the door for Joe Linton, but he slipped as he tried to get himself set for the shot and ended up with the ball just bouncing harmlessly off him. On this occasion he helps Newcastle to win a throw-in on their left-hand side. Target will come forward to take it. Ball thrown short towards Shelvey, who hooks it immediately back over his head, and Everton can push the play out of their own penalty area. That's Newcastle still in possession on their right-hand side as Trippier comes forward, plays a good angled ball out onto that left-hand side for Sam Maximan. He steps inside, wants to get a shot in, he can't do so, tries to chip it into the area, he screams for handball. Referee Anthony Taylor shakes his head, and in the end the opportunity disappears for Newcastle as Coleman comes away down the right hand side. Shelvey goes across, then checks Rilling, he's already been booked, and then there will be another booking here as Richarlison is savaged to the floor with a late challenge, and Anthony Taylor will immediately get the yellow card out, the second in this second half, and we've only played 4 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, well, it's one of those where he's probably thinking his share that if he doesn't put some sort of challenge in, I think Richarlison also can see Share coming in, so he's trying to play the ball into some open space. But the Swiss had already made his mind up that he'd be crashing in. Well, let's have a look here. Sam Maximan was appealing a handball. Oh, I tell you what, Alan is going sort of rolling to the side, and he's got his arm out. I mean, as I say, you can't say he's deliberately handballed it, but he's not done everything to avoid the handball either.
No, I'm not sure how natural a position that is. I think he's got away with one there in that sense, but the referee was on the spot, decided that it was just a slide, and the arm was up on that occasion. Goals elsewhere in the Championship, by the way. Stoke leading Swansea by a goal to 0 now, and Fulham have got a second against Millwall in the early stages at Craven Cottage. Fulham 2, Millwall 0. Free kick then to Everton. outside the right-hand edge of the Newcastle penalty area. Gordon and Townsend are over it again, so they've got the option of the outswinger or the inswinger. As Keane and Joe Linton and Dele Alli and Lascelles and everybody else starts a little bit of pushing and shoving. Referee just gets involved, puts himself in between the players, tells them to settle down. And Everton finally will be able to take this free kick from the right-hand side. Townsend whips it in, decent one, headed away from in front of Dubravka by Lascelles, who takes a whack from his goalkeeper for his troubles, but had to take command of the situation, the Newcastle captain.
Absolutely. Any kids watching, that's why you need to call for the ball in those situations, because Dubravka was trying to get to it, so was Lascelles. It's a short corner take, and here comes Gordon.
Yeah, he gets away from the first challenge, can't get room for a cross in, but he does in the end, and actually puts what in the end is a curling shot. I think it may have been more of a cross towards the far post, but he put it into a dangerous area. Richarlison was sniffing around in front of Dubravka, couldn't quite get to it. Dubravka actually makes a decent save in the end.
He does, yeah. He was able to catch it. It wasn't quite in the corner, but it was a decent effort that from Gordon, and also a good save from Dubravka as Willock tries to start a move for Newcastle, gets stopped on the halfway line, and it will be a throw to Everton. So still similar to what we saw in the first half. The second half can't quite bed down just yet.
Yeah, 6 minutes gone in the second period. Newcastle 1, Everton 1. As Everton have possession inside their own half with Keane. Just rolls it towards Holgate, who's given plenty of space now. Newcastle not quite pressing as high as they were in the early stages of the first half. Long ball downfield all the way through to Dele Alli. He tries to backheel it into the path of Richarlison, but it gets blocked in the end. Newcastle will tidy up with Dubravka, but a lovely ball over the top. Kind of felt that Dele Alli should have taken it himself, but he was unselfish, tried to find Richarlison behind him. Ball cleared away, and Everton eventually have the ball, but inside their own half.
It's a great ball over the top to pick out Dele. I agree with you. I think there was enough space for him to try and get a shot away himself. There's Alan now, a much simpler ball on the halfway line. On 2 occasions doesn't reach its target. Here comes Saint-Maximin.
Yeah, he picks up possession down the left-hand side. Challenges come in. Eventually he's brought down. It's Gomez again, who's got to be a little bit careful here, having already been booked. Referee is telling people just to calm down. I'm sure the crowd was up at St James's Park.
I think he was also suggesting that perhaps Alan's committed the first foul, which has sort of started the stumble, and then Andre Gomez has sort of carried on from there. I think it's probably a little bit lucky there for Gomez. I don't think he does enough to get a second yellow card there anyway, but he's just got to be so careful. Saint-Maximin is one of these players that when he gets the ball, he's very, very difficult to dispossess.
Absolutely. There wasn't much contact on him, but at that pace, as you say, he had stumbled to start off with, but looking from the replay, he'd got himself settled again and tried to come forward as he finally gets himself up onto his feet. He looks a little ginger as he comes up on his leg, not totally convinced that the right leg has taken a bit of a whack there on this occasion. He indicates to the sideline that he doesn't need the physio for the moment, and he will wander across and hobble across towards the edge of the D on the edge of the box. Free kick then to Newcastle, left-hand side. Not quite level with the edge of the left-hand edge of the penalty area as far as Newcastle are concerned, but near enough. The wall is 4 or 5 yards inside the Everton box on an angle. Trippier and Shelvey are the two over it for Newcastle. Plenty of players around the penalty spot and far post area as Everton set their line on the penalty spot. Trippier chips it in. Decent ball comes off the back of a head of a defender. I think it might be Branthwaite, who's got totally wiped out then by his keeper. Pickford coming out for it as well. He got his head to it, but he's taken out by his own goalkeeper.
That looks painful,
ends up on the floor.
I did commentary of a Middlesbrough-Blackburn game last season where Branthwaite was on loan at Blackburn, and he actually, when going for a corner or a free kick, he had his boot up and he ended up catching a Middlesbrough player, splitting his head wide open. Remember Tony Mowbray after the game explaining that there's nothing malicious about Branthwaite. It was just a little bit accidental, but on this occasion it's Branthwaite who's on the receiving end. That looks like a painful one.
Yeah, 2 players already off the bench as far as Everton are concerned. You see the replay again, it looked like he just missed with the punch, Pickford, fortunately, as he came out in terms of hitting his own player, but he caught him with a shoulder perhaps on the side of the head, and that's certainly where the concern, it would appear, is for Branthwaite at the moment. He's trying to get himself back up off the floor, but it may have to be a concussion substitution if they can't be sure that he is okay. As I say, Everton have made 2 changes already, including Branthwaite as one of them. So left on the bench, Calvert-Lewin, El Ghazi, Iwobi, Kenny, Patterson and Van der Beek are the options left for Frank Lampard. Newcastle haven't made a change so far. Almiron, Byrne, Darlow, Gale, Guimaraes, Kraft, Longstaff, Manquillo and Murphy are the options for Eddie Howe this evening. So 2 benches that look a lot stronger than they did in December. And there will be a drop ball here, I think, to Newcastle. Branthwaite is back onto his feet. He will not have to go off for the moment. They've cleared his head enough and checked him out, but he is at least onto his feet and ready to roll as Trippier picks up possession for Newcastle. Then long ball over the top, looking towards Wood. He can't win the header on this occasion. It's headed away by Keane, drops to Gomez, forward into midfield, but Dele Alli's lost it and Willock will come forward. He plays it square. There's plenty of Newcastle players forward here if they can find the right ball through the centre. Back out wide to Sam Maximan. Drives down towards the byline. Chips it back across. It finally falls and it's dropped in. Fraser pushes it towards goal. Somehow it beats the defender on the line and bobbles its way in. It's another scrappy goal from a good move from Sam Maximan, and it's Newcastle who take the lead 2-1.
Yeah, Sam Maximan instrumental on that left-hand side, but it's Dele Alli caught in possession in midfield that starts that move off. As we see the Newcastle crowd really enjoying that. It was been a scrappy game, so it was no surprise really that it's a scrappy goal that gives Newcastle the lead. Just a bit too much space here for Joe Linton at the edge of the area. Then Sam Maximan drops the shoulder, gets to the byline, puts that cross in. Well, there's 3 Everton players jumping for that cross, Stephen. Not one of them gets close to it. Yeah,
they don't. It deflects up in the air. It spins off the defender. That kind of wrong foots a couple of players, and somehow it bounces past the outstretched leg of Townsend, who was trying to cover in behind his own goalkeeper. It does actually flick off the head of Keane before it finds its way to Fraser. I think it may have come off the head of Townsend as well. A real mess of a goal in the end, but great work, as he said, across midfield and from Sam Maximan. And Dele Alli appears on screen looking crestfallen, having lost the ball in midfield.
Absolutely, yeah. He was the one who was caught in possession for the start of that Newcastle move. It's the first goal we've seen in the game this evening that's not been an own goal, because as it turns out, Holgate scored the own goal that gave Newcastle the equaliser, although it was Lascelles with the header that actually deflects off the bar and then off Holgate to go into the back of the net. And of course Lascelles had scored the own goal that had given Everton the lead as well. But Newcastle now with the lead, but still a long way to go in this game, so Everton will feel as though they have a chance to get back in.
First league goal of the season for Ryan Fraser to make it 2-1 to Newcastle. First time that Newcastle have scored more than once in a Premier League game since November. As the ball is cleared long downfield again by Everton, Richarlison will get there in front of Lascelles. He's brought down by the Newcastle captain, who will inevitably look round at the referee and say, I was looking for the ball, it was bouncing down, how was I supposed to see? But he just clambered all over the back of Richarlison and gave away a free kick.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit too easy, isn't it? He lets that ball bounce and then he just decides to go straight into Richarlison, and before he's even had a chance to get up from that, he's already complaining to the referee that it's never a foul. But to me, I think it was a clear foul.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much doubt about that, as the free kick then will be given. It's around about 4 or 5 yards outside the penalty area, just to the left-hand side of the end of the D on the edge of the box, to be as precise as we can about where it is. 4-man wall for Newcastle. Anthony Taylor just sorting out the 10 yards back, making it clear where people need to be stood. Dele Alli also being told that he needs to keep a yard away, so he then wanders off and goes 10 yards away around the other side of the penalty area. So the rules are that you have to be a yard away from the edge of the wall as an attacking player. So Richarlison will take it. He inevitably just picks the ball up, moves it another foot across to the right-hand side while the referee's back is turned. Townsend is over there as well. It looks like Richarlison looks the most likely. So he steps up, right-footed, tries to whip it under the wall. It's blocked. Shot comes in from distance by Branthwaite, though straight into the arms of Dubravka.
Yeah, Branthwaite did well, actually. Put his left foot through that and put a bit of power into it. The free kick from Richarlison wasn't very good at all. I think it's always a risk when you try and hit the ball under the wall like that. And in the end, an easy save there for Dubravka. But Newcastle insisting on playing out from the back, and eventually they get away with one there as that ball deflects off Townsend as he was trying to close down Trippier, and it does go out for a goal kick. Meanwhile, Donny van der Beek is ready to come on.
Yeah, there is going to be a change for Everton. It will be the third of the evening for them, having already made 2 substitutions in the first half. As you see a replay again of the Newcastle second goal. Nice little work from Wood into the path of Joe Linton. That was better from him. Drove into the box. And Sam Maximan again with that drive through, so dangerous as he comes back across into those situations, and it created the chaos as Van der Beek then makes his debut for Everton. Andre Gomez is off. No great surprise, I suppose. He's picked up a booking and he's come close to a second a couple of times, and I think Frank Lampard deciding to take him out of the fray to avoid dropping to 10 men.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing from Lampard to do, and it just means that there's a slightly more attacking edge to that Everton midfield as well. But it will mean that Alan's got to do a bit more of the dirty work, if you like, in trying to keep everything in order in that defensive midfield.
We tick up towards the hour mark with Newcastle leading by 2-1. Ball forward then flicked to Townsend, who races away over the halfway line. Shelby comes across the cover, and so does Trippier. Then getting back, he makes a challenge. Ball is out of play for a throw-in. Referee Anthony Taylor says it came off the heels of Townsend, much to the annoyance of the Everton man. So it will be a Newcastle throw-in. Goal in the Championship. Luton have gone back in front from the penalty spot against Barnsley. Luton 2, Barnsley 1. Adebayo from 12 yards out, making it 2-1 to the home side. And sending off as well. Stoke had gone 1 in front against Swansea, as we mentioned earlier. Swansea now down to 10 men. Looks like Stoke have got a penalty as well from that, so there may be a second goal for the home side at the Bet365 Stadium as well. In the Premier League, 2-1 in our game, still West Ham 0, Watford 0, and they're just underway in the second half between Burnley and Manchester United at Turf Moor. Manchester United 1 up after the first half of the game. Paul Pogba with the only goal of the game, although I think 2 were ruled out for various reasons by VAR. Before that, as Stoke do in fact go 2 up against 10-man Swansea. Well, the penalty, it looks like, was scored at the Bet365. 2-0 to Stoke City as Newcastle come forward with 2 goals on the board for them. Willock does well, battles away from Branthwaite down towards the byline. He checks back inside, has support behind him from Fraser. He in turn has Trippier, and it will be out of play off an Everton man for a throw-in to Newcastle. No rush from them to take this now. They can take control of the pace of the game and play it how they want to, if they can keep control of it from this Everton side. And they look to be able to do so now as Trippier puts a ball into the box, having got the throw-in back on a little 1-2. It's headed away, still not properly clear though by Everton. Trippier will be there again. He comes up against his Old England teammate Dele Alli, turns away from him, and Dele Alli gives away the free kick to Newcastle.
Yeah, it's not been a good debut so far for Dele Alli. Didn't make much of an impact in the first half. Gave a ball away for the second goal in the second half, and now gives a free kick away in a dangerous position. But he never really looked close to dispossessing Trippier there.
So it will be a free kick for Trippier again, who's at the centre of every set piece virtually that Newcastle have. He's either there taking it or he's there as part of the discussion. Everton set up their defensive line around the penalty spot, right across. As Trippier almost takes his free kick from almost level with the edge of the penalty area, so there's very little space for him to get the ball in here into a dangerous position. But he will whip it in right-footed towards the near post. Poor ball. Richarlison heads it away only as far as Sam Maximan, who will again drive round the left-hand edge. He pulls a great ball across the penalty area, but there's nobody there in a black and white shirt. Chris Wood was about the nearest to it, but it flashed past him, and eventually it bobbles harmlessly behind for a goal kick.
It does. It's a big goal goes in at Turf Moor. Burnley are now level against Manchester United. We'll confirm the goal scorer momentarily. But that's a bit disappointing from Sam Maximan in the end. That never looked close to Chris Wood. But the worry for Everton must be now that they're having real problems in getting forward, and they'll be hoping that perhaps Van der Beek can just try and swing the game more in their favour.
And Newcastle had possession. Jay Rodriguez scored the goal for Burnley. Burnley 1, Manchester United 1, and it's now Derby 3, Hull City 1. So the Hull side finally getting into the game, but 25 minutes left in that one, same as roughly as in ours, and Hull 2 goals down. There's Eddie Howe on the sideline, pensive at the moment, considering his options over the last 25 minutes. But although it's been a low quality encounter, he's got to be happy with the way that his side have dug in, the fact that they've got the goals when they've come, even if they have been scrappy. He will feel actually his side have probably been on top for the majority of this game.
Well, I think that the fact they equalised so quickly just meant that they could get that out of their system, and they started the second half better as well. And they're pushing forward here now down the left-hand side with Wood. He tries to squeeze the ball into the penalty area. Michael Keane will get there first, but Everton need to wake up. They've got 26 minutes in this game, and they've got to try and do something. But again, Alan just hits and hopes it long, and that's nowhere near Richarlison, really.
No, far too far downfield for the Brazilian to chase on this occasion as Newcastle tidy up with Trippier. Just put a long ball downfield. It drops towards Willock. Ball played over the top. Wood, though, was coming back from an offside position, having gone for an earlier ball through, so he couldn't get back on side in time to make the challenge, but Pickford's now hacked the ball straight up in the air. Branthwaite has miskicked and the ball's rolled towards Willock, who will allow it just to run behind for a corner kick, and Everton are starting to unravel a bit here.
They are a little bit, yeah. It's just starting to look a little bit more messy now from Everton. If you could have timeouts in football, I think Frank Lampard will be calling one now just to try and get his players together and get them to think about how everything's going. It's the sixth corner kick of the game. Newcastle with 4, Everton with just 2.
Don't want to panic Newcastle fans, of course, but as we said before kick-off, they have dropped a league-high 21 points from winning positions in the Premier League so far. So Everton will see that as a positive, that if they can put this Newcastle side under some pressure, there may be opportunities. But as it stands, it's a corner kick to Newcastle. Trippier to take it, both hands raised above his head as he comes in right-footed now and lofts it towards the far post again. Comes off ahead, Shearer just up in the air, really, rather than anything else, and Pickford clutches it out of the sky, races to the edge of his box and launches one long downfield. Gordon will chase after it, but it's way past him. He will challenge again with Saint-Maximin, but Newcastle do well. Saint-Maximin just tidies up nice and comfortably towards target. He plays a long square ball to Trippier, down towards the goal scorer Fraser. And Newcastle will just take the heat out of the situation again and force Everton to come forward and try and win back possession on halfway. Wood battles for it. Keane, though, beats him on this occasion. Then it's hacked forward downfield by Holgate. Dele Alli can't take it back. Newcastle come back in the opposite direction with Willock. He's brought down this time. Free kick against Allan.
Yeah, and it's just still not gelling for Everton here right now. Bit of a problem here for Willock as he stays down on the deck. Hopefully this won't be anything too serious for him. He's just found it a little bit more difficult to get into this game at times as well. But Newcastle will be happy with this. At least they can win the ball back here, just slow Everton down as Branthwaite there. Well, it's careless from Branthwaite, I would say. In fact, I would say it's completely accidental. I don't think there's any intent there. But it's certainly, he's a big lad, so if he steps on you, you're going to know about it.
Yeah, certainly it does. Finally a goal at the London Stadium. It's West Ham 1, Watford 0. Bowen with the goal for the Hammers. Finally breaks the deadlock there as Newcastle take a free kick up towards the edge of the box, flicks off the head of Lascelles. Can Joe Linton keep it in? He can't, because Coleman will battle with him, but in the end he just has to hack the ball out of play, much to the annoyance of Pickford behind him, who wanted the Irishman to allow the ball to run out of play, but Coleman decided it may not have done and took the option. But in the end he's just given away a corner rather than the throw-in that Everton would have wanted. So it will be a corner from the left-hand side. Little debate goes on between Lascelles and Shelvey, just on the penalty spot. Then a discussion between Lascelles and Shearer, as Trippier now goes across to the far side of the field in Newcastle left to whip this in-swinger in right-footed. Puts it in again. It goes towards the far post, towards Lascelles. Him and Joe Linton both go for it, but nobody really gets a proper head on it, and it's cleared away by Everton, but knocked straight back in by Target. Trippier, superb touch from him, keeps the ball in play. He wants somebody to make a run inside him. There's nobody though there. It goes back to Saint-Maximin, who puts a decent ball in. Willock nearest to it, but never really looked like he was going to get ahead to it. Goes straight over his head, bounces behind again for another goal kick. So with a quarter of the game left to go, Newcastle leading by 2-1. Paul will take you through to full time.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes, and Newcastle looking good for that lead now. At the start of the second half, it was almost a coin toss as to which side was looking slightly better, but both a little bit off colour. But I think now with 68 minutes gone, we have to say that Newcastle are value for their 2-1 lead, and Everton certainly haven't been at the races in this second half. They've got to try and step it up. Now, they have enough time, and as Steve mentioned, Newcastle have had problems in maintaining their leads this season as Townsend goes forward. Easily dispossessed, though, by Trippier, who then tries to flick it through towards Fraser. He thinks it's obvious that there was a deflection off an Everton man. The linesman and the referee think otherwise, so it's a throw-on to Everton. Branthwaite inside now towards Van der Beek. Looked up, can see that there's quite a high offside line there from Newcastle, so no real way of getting that ball over the top towards Richarlison. Now drops towards Townsend on the left-hand side. Bit of space here for him, and Ali carried on his one. He's on the left-hand touchline now. No real option to try and go forward though, so Everton having exchanged around 10 passes, still around about the centre circle really. Ali does well there to get away from Shelvey and from Willock. Carries on down the left hand side, leaves the ball now for Van der Beek, who then plays it quickly to Townsend. Townsend then puts across towards the back post, but he was just leaning away from the ball as he did so. Townsend meant he wasn't quite in control, and it floats over the bar and away in the end.
Yeah, nobody really there at the far post either. Coleman was probably the nearest to it, but he was a long way on that right hand side coming in from deep from his right back position, so no real danger had the ball been chipped into the area. So Newcastle very comfortable at the minute. Everton last 20 minutes or so of this game since half time, early flurry, but since then very little from an attacking point of view. There's no pressure on this Newcastle goal. And as we've already said, the number of points they've lost from winning positions, you would think that will be first job, is to try and put this Newcastle side under as much pressure inside their own half as possible. But Everton, at the moment, are just passive for me.
They are. Well, attempts in total, Steve, 15 from Newcastle in the game, of which 5 have been on target. Everton have had 9 efforts and 3 have been on target. So you could actually say it's the same ratio. 1/3 of their efforts are going on target in the game. But it's been a while now since we've seen any kind of dangerous play from Everton, really. That last move there down the left with that cross from Townsend not really causing too many problems. And once again, Everton getting bogged down at the edge of their own box. Michael Keane forced to play a high-risk pass down the right-hand side, but it pays off. Coleman's away down the middle. That's a good challenge, though, from Joelinton, just to stop him in his tracks. Loose ball gets through towards Van der Beek. Just loses his balance, but goes back into Seamus Coleman, who then switches the play over towards Branthwaite. Almost nutmegged himself there, Branthwaite. And he's, again, just under pressure there from Fraser. Finds Alan. And Everton having to work very hard here, Steve, just to keep possession on the halfway line.
Yeah, it's better from Newcastle, isn't it? There's more bite about them, there's more pressure from them. They're in the faces of the Everton players, not giving them space whenever they get possession there again. Ball out wide towards Townsend. Trippier is straight in front of him. And they're just putting bodies in front of each player as they pick up possession of the ball. Here we see it again. Keane closed down by Wood. Shelvey then comes out to try and close down on Donny van der Beek through the centre. So Everton finding a way through eventually, but it takes 5 or 6 passes to find that space as Coleman miscues, but Everton keep possession.
They do. Coleman's cross into the box was cleared. The ball then deflected back to him. He miscued his shot. It ends up with Gordon, whose effort is charged down. Ball drops to Alan, who puts a decent cross into the box. That's also a good header away by Matt Targett. Gets a second chance there. Targett clears it out. It's a throw to Everton down the right-hand side, level with the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. And it is going to be Seamus Coleman to take this throw. Gets it into Gordon. Not seen as much of Gordon in the second half. Coleman now back towards Dele Alli. As the visitors looking to try and put a bit of pressure on, but that's a poor ball down the right-hand side. It's basically a pass on the overlap, and there was nobody on the overlap. But I think it must have got a deflection, because it looked to me as though... Has that gone out for a corner, or is that just Shelvey kicking the ball away to waste a few seconds there?
It could be both now, Shelvey. You're never quite sure, are you, in that sense? I think he's just got out for a goal kick.
I think so as well.
As the director is showing us the substitutes warming up for Newcastle.
Yeah, Guimaraes being one of the subs warming up, but no, it just goes to show me that ball went out pretty much by the corner flag, and Shelvey still just kicking it away to make sure it's another few yards further away from his keeper, just to try and delay the restart. Always intrigues me how much time professional footballers spend trying to avoid playing football on the pitch. It's to say, just for an experiment, I've made this point in commentary before, I'd love to see a couple of games, maybe friendly games, played with a stop clock rather than a continuous clock, just to see if they will change the way that players behave on the field. But 73 minutes gone, independent off-tube studio commentary. Newcastle leading against Everton by 2-1. West Ham leading against Watford by 1-0. And in the 8 o'clock kickoff, it's Burnley 1, Manchester United 1 in the Championship. I'll run you through those quickly as well, as the ball's just gone out of play. Coventry 1, Blackpool 1, Derby 3, Hull City 1, Fulham 2, Millwall 0, Luton 2, Barnsley 1, and Stoke lead by 2-0 against 10-man Swansea. It's Everton in possession with Van der Beek. Down the right-hand side is pass, looking for the run of Richarlison. But Richarlison, had that ball gone out of play? I think he must have just curled out.
Yeah, I think he just curled away for a throw-in. Newcastle obviously are playing the... Was it offside, ref? Was it out for a throw-in? But it was pretty obvious.
Where am I taking the throw-on from?
Yeah, exactly.
All those questions that...
All the classic Premier League tricks are coming out now from Newcastle, but why not? You know, they can dictate the game now because they're in front, they're comfortable as it stands at the moment, and I know that's tempting fate for Newcastle fans listening, as Shelvey almost gives the ball away to Richarlison.
Shelvey be a little bit nonchalant, and he slips just as he's trying to challenge Andros Townsend. I just wonder if perhaps the turf's a bit slippier than the players. I'd imagine perhaps they got the wrong boots on. Players almost like F1 drivers these days with the amount of boots they have for different weather conditions. But certainly we've seen a few players losing their balance in the game this evening. He's just slowing down in midfield for the time being, as Everton desperate to try and get forward. The long ball there from Shelvey towards the edge of the Everton penalty area, quickly cleared away. And now a chance here for the visitors as Anthony Gordon plays a ball towards Townsend. That's a good challenge, though, from Lascelles. In fairness, he was always favoured to get there. The ball to Townsend was a little bit overhit.
Yeah, timed his run perfectly, though, didn't he? He picked up where it was going to be going. He saw the run coming through nice and early from Townsend as he came across, because there was plenty of room for Townsend to go into, but Lascelles made sure he tracked him nicely, and that's really, really good defending. One of those things that looks simple but can easily go wrong.
Absolutely, and meanwhile Everton just trying to win the ball back. There's always a little bit of afters here between Trippier and Gordon, and I think the two of those players, because they are quite close to their respective dugouts, just about reined it in before it got out of control, as here comes Sam Maximan trying to fire a ball into the penalty area, blocked by Branthwaite, who's off. He runs straight into Trippier. There might be some furthers. Elwood and Gordon then crashing in towards Sam Maximan. Referee says play on, but Newcastle aren't interested. They want the ball to go out of play, and they want Gordon to get booked.
Trippier's conned him there. He's absolutely wound him up completely. There was in the face, there was giving it all that, big I am and everything else. And then Trippier, as soon as Gordon got the ball, Trippier was straight into him, straight into a challenge. No foul, just straight into his face, winding him up. And then, of course, Gordon straight away turns round. The testosterone's gone, and he wipes out Sam Maximan. It's classic, clever play from Trippier, and the young lad's got to learn that's what's going to happen to him, and he's got to keep the old noggin in shape here, because he lost it there, and he's given away a very cheap free kick. I thought he'd given away a cheap free kick.
Should have been a free kick there. I mean, I'm amazed that that's just gone out for a throw, and I'm also amazed that Everton were planning on keeping the ball, but Newcastle now are asking for it back. Richarlison's chased after this ball. It's all gone a little bit chaotic there. That should have really been Everton giving the ball back to Newcastle, not playing a long ball to try and pick out Richarlison. But in the meantime, it's a good chance here for Newcastle as Sam Maximan breaks onto the loose ball, gets into the penalty area, puts a right-footed shot, and is saved by Pickford. It's in the back of the net. The flag's going to go up here against Chris Wood, surely. He's already got a bit of a grimace on his face there, and we'll wait to see if the replay can perhaps give Newcastle this third goal or not.
Yeah, fantastic play again. Great ball over the top from Shelvey again, wasn't it? Chris Wood turned away from it, allowed the ball to run through to Sam Maximan. He gets a shot in. Yeah, clearly offside, as you say, inside the 6-yard box. Little reaction. It didn't just come off him and bounce in. He did actually move his knees towards it. But as you say, you see the replay. Clearly offside. Good spot by the assistant. And still 2-1.
Still 2-1 with just under a quarter of an hour to go. 77 minutes played at St James's Park. Independent off-tube studio commentary. Newcastle 2, Everton 1. And a free kick now taken by Jordan Pickford on the halfway line. It's Andros Townsend to Dele Alli. Back to Townsend. A bit of space here. But once again, a big challenge there from Jamal Lascelles. And he times it to perfection once again.
Absolutely perfect defending again from the big centre-half. Again, timed his run nicely. Picked up the runner from deep nice and early. And was there and able to make the challenge. And so far, and I know Newcastle fans are going to say I'm tempting fate, but defensively particularly, Newcastle have looked good tonight.
They've just stepped up a little bit more in the second half. There's just a little bit more resilience about this Newcastle team, whereas Everton still seem to be in a little bit of a mess here in terms of their defensive setup, and they haven't really been able to find Richarlison with any kind of ball in this second half either, certainly not in the last 15 minutes or so. It is Everton in possession with Van der Beek. Over to Coleman on the right-hand side. Gordon's gone on the overlap, and that's where the ball has gone. A bit of space here for Anthony Gordon. Puts a cross in. Shelvey dives in, puts a good challenge in. Cher then does well to turn away from Gordon. Fires the ball into Gordon and wins his side a goal kick. So again, a good example of how Newcastle are organised in defence there.
Absolutely, and tracking back again as well, wasn't it? Putting the full effort in. Shelvey putting the shift in. Again, 78 minutes gone. He's running 30-40 yards to cover inside his own penalty area. There's a commitment and a battle from this Newcastle side, which I think people will really respond to and really appreciate as well, as there's going to be a first change of the evening for Newcastle. Jacob Murphy looks like the man who will be coming on.
I just wonder if this will be for Fraser. He's had a couple of injury scares in the game. Potentially it could even be for, I was going to say maybe Trippier, because he looks a little bit wound up, but it was more his rival there, Gordon, that was wound up rather than Trippier. But here come Newcastle now with Fraser, dances away from Alan, who brings him down, and I think the Brazilian's going to get a booking here.
Yeah, it's not the best challenge. I have some sympathy with him, as Fraser was going to go down no matter what as soon as the challenge came in. But if you're going to slide in and make the challenge there, the player is going to make the most of it. I'm not sure how much contact there is in that sense, but it's a poor challenge from Alan. He slides in, misses the ball completely, gives the cheap free kick away, and again it's another couple of minutes wasted, isn't it? Newcastle will take the time over this, and yet another Everton player with a yellow card on their name.
Yeah, well, Frank Lampard was all smiles at full time on the Saturday with his side cruising past a fairly average Brentford side in the FA Cup, but he'll have no smile on his face this evening. His side haven't looked particularly good, and now this is a good opportunity for Newcastle. Is it within shooting range, you'd say, Steve?
I would think so. When you've got Shelvey over it, he'll fancy his chances. Trippier as well. We've seen, I could go back a long way to Kieran Trippier scoring classic free kicks way before he was banging them in for England. So, yes, either of those two. Target fancies in as well.
It's
take your pick,
yeah,
really.
Absolutely. It's slightly over on the right, so it may favour the left footer here in Matt Target. Shelvey just steps away from it. Trippier is still there. The wall is marked. It is going to be Trippier over the wall and into the back of the net. As Pickford dives across, he can't make the save. And on 80 minutes, Newcastle lead by 3-1. And Kieran Trippier is getting a return on that big transfer fee already.
Absolutely, gets the strike in. You would have to question how that managed to get through there. We'll have to see a replay from behind the goal because it seemed to go straight through the wall. If it went round it, it's a heck of a bend and a great free kick from Trippier. If it went through the wall, if I was Jordan Pickford, I'll be asking one or two questions about players. It has gone round the outside. Did he line it up right? Well, what difference does it make? Lovely, beautifully positioned free kick. Places it right in the corner. Pickford, no chance.
No chance for Pickford. The wall perhaps could have been slightly over, covering that post a little better. Pickford dives across, but you can see delight on the face of Eddie Howe there, because his side are going to be getting 3 points this evening. You would think now, with just 9 minutes plus injury time to go. Say Newcastle have had problems in terms of maintaining a lead this season, but they'll feel confident now.
Absolutely. 2 goals to spare, 10 minutes left to go. It's not all over yet, but Everton don't look like they've got enough in them at the moment to get the win.
I like that there, that we saw the Newcastle owners celebrating the goal. But what I liked was the fact that Gareth Southgate, obviously with them, he couldn't stand up and clap, so he was sat down and he was very stony-faced. But I wonder if part of that was A, because he has to show that he's impartial, and B, also he's just seen his first keeper concede a goal that perhaps he should be saving. So something for Gareth Southgate to think about there is Everton. Well, now they've got a 2-goal lead to make up. Here comes Anthony Gordon. He's well stopped, though, by Joe Willock. Willock and Shelvey playing a 1-2. Willock then hits the deck. He's brought down. Newcastle expecting a free kick, and eventually Anthony Taylor obliges.
Yeah, he does. No great surprise either. It's another poor challenge from Everton in midfield, isn't it? And of course, the win tonight, as it stands at the moment, with Watford 1 down at West Ham, will take Newcastle out of the bottom 3 and put them only a point behind Everton as well, as we're finally going to see the change for Newcastle. It took a little while to come, but Ryan Fraser will be the one who goes off. Jacob Murphy on. No great surprise that that's the change to come. And as you say, we've got Southgate, of course. On the one hand, he sees Trippier scoring a nice goal and playing well, but as you say, on the other hand, he watches Pickford see the ball flashing past him. So it's a bit of a bittersweet moment for the England manager. Goals elsewhere, by the way. It's now Stoke 3, 10-man Swansea 0. So it looks like it's all done and dusted at the Bet365 Stadium in the Championship.
Absolutely, a big win that for Stoke. Swansea City, who I did commentary of their last game when they beat Blackburn Rovers somehow in the evening game on Saturday. I say somehow because Blackburn had about 20 chances and Swansea scored once and just defended resolutely and ended up getting the 3 points, but Blackburn missing a whole host of chances towards the end of the game. But this evening, no luck for the Swans as they go 3-0 down away at Stoke. As here come Everton now, a ball over the top for Richarlison to chase. He doesn't get there in any case. Dubravka could have let it go out for a goal kick, but he's there to keep it in play. And the Newcastle fans can relax that little bit more now. Of course, the big expectation for Eddie Howe is that there's going to be some real progress from this team. It's taken a while, you have to say. The first few games, there wasn't much of a new manager swing, was there? But there just seems to be a bit more by the way the Newcastle have played in this game. They've just shown that they've been able to get through a difficult patch in the game, and now they look good value for their lead.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, very even, no real particular clear-cut chances for either side, and you thought this could be a really tricky game for Newcastle, the kind of one that I would have expected them to lose earlier on in the season, if I'm honest. And you look at this side, there looks a little bit more resolve to it. There's certainly some more quality in it. I mean, Trippier, for me, is continuing to be outstanding. Sam Maximan is as always superb once he gets the foot on the ball and he's in the mood, as it were. I think Chris Wood gives him a little bit of space as well. He ties up a defender or two, which gives Sam Maximan somewhere to work as well, which I think helps. So although Wood's not scoring the goals at the moment, I think he's then creating space for other people around him because he's been a nuisance. From an Everton point of view, you know, there isn't what I'm not seeing at the moment is a system that Frank Lampard set in to play. I think, to be fair to him, it's too early to try and do that over a week or two. There's a lot of work to be done.
I think last Tuesday was the first time he was at the training ground, wasn't it? So he's not really had time to get all his points across yet. Everton's next game, by the way, is at home to Leeds United, and that will be this weekend. And then they travel to Southampton. The next two games for Newcastle, they're at home to Aston Villa at the weekend before a trip away to West Ham United. Those are the next couple of fixtures for these two sides. Newcastle, of course, already suffering an embarrassing defeat in the Cup this season, losing at home by a 1-0 to Cambridge United. As one of the Newcastle fans there doing his best to kick that ball as far away as he could from Seamus Coleman, who's waiting to take this throw. We've got 5 minutes plus injury time to go in this game. Things have really slowed down now on the park, as well as Everton have a lot of the ball, but they're not really able to get forward. Joe Willock now runs into the back of Allan. Referee wanted to play an advantage. Van der Beek actually pointing to the ball, saying that he would have preferred to have had the advantage there, but it's just going to be a free kick.
I think as well, you're just saying about the games coming up for Everton, of course, and the defeat here that puts them back in the mix in the bottom three again, particularly if Norwich can pick up something during the week. The pressure's then back on, isn't it? Unwanted pressure from an Everton point of view, but two winnable games coming up in terms of Southampton and Leeds United. But, the expectation is now it's got to be something out of those games, because they put themselves in this situation with a poor last hour, really, in this game, having gone in front.
Having gone in front, we always say, don't we, that teams are very susceptible to conceding a goal when they've just scored themselves. That certainly proved to be the case this evening. Everton were barely in front for 2 minutes before Newcastle had equalised. But since that equaliser, Newcastle really have looked like the better side. There's a ball now bouncing through. Will Richarlison get there first? No, it's easily going to be Lascelles going back towards Dubravka. Long clearance from the Newcastle goalkeeper, headed forward by Van der Beek. It drops to Anthony Gordon. And Gordon looking left and right for options. Nobody really moving forward for him. Goes square to Van der Beek. And Van der Beek now over towards Branthwaite, who's got a bit further forward here for Everton. But again, Newcastle playing a high offside line. They really condensed their own half of the field, so it's harder for Everton to get forward. Allan now onto Richarlison. That's a good little touch on there to Dele Alli. He breaks into the penalty area. He's got his arms up like it was obvious he was being fouled there by Trippier, but the head shaking from my colleague suggests that not really.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's looking for anything he can get around the penalty area, isn't he? Yes, there's a bit of a battle with Trippier, but he's pulling his shirt. He drags Trippier to the floor. There is then a little bit of contact, but there's nothing deliberate in it. It's two players battling for it. I think the referee's quite right to just say 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Get on with it and get to your feet. And there wasn't any complaints from the rest of the Everton side, really. Another goal in the Championship, by the way. Fulham now leading Millwall by 3-0. So Fulham continue their excellent form. Mitrovic had scored the first two. Well, no confirmation yet of whether it's a hat-trick for him again.
I wouldn't bet against it. He's had an amazing season. He's up to 30 goals or something, or 28 goals already, and we're only in the second week of February. It's unbelievable, really, as Branthwaite now in possession for Everton, goes square to Van der Beek. Slowly but surely, Everton gaining a little bit of territory here, but still not really able to get anywhere near the penalty area, as the ball now with Michael Keane. He's still in the centre circle. Just gives you an idea of how far away from goal Everton are now. Holgate down the right hand side for Coleman. That's well played though by Matt Targett. He then finds Sam Maximan, who runs straight into Holgate but is able to bounce off him, and he's over the halfway line now, starting a counter attack. Great ball here to pick out. It's a chance here for Murphy. Hits the post and the rebound just gets away from Sam Maximan. A second effort there from Willock is straight into Jordan Pickford, and somehow Newcastle are still only 3-1 up, when really that should have been 4-1 and game over.
Yeah, and Sam Maximan cannot believe that he's not got an assist out of that. Can he? Drove forward again, showed his power through the centre, his pace again. Lovely little ball roll towards Murphy. You say acres of space, Everton having pushed a couple of players forward in that earlier attack, and unfortunate in the end. He does everything right, pulls it across the keeper, unfortunately just hits the inside of the post and comes out. But again, as you say, you look at the offside goal off the post. This could have got really nasty for Everton here.
It really could have done, yeah. It certainly could have. The scoreline could have been even heavier, as Anthony Gordon is stopped just as he tries to dance into the penalty area. Long clearance now looking for Sam Maximan. Holgate, though, wins the header, and Everton once again in possession here with Van der Beek. Forward now towards Dele Alli, and Ali has Townsend on the left-hand side. Townsend gets towards the edge of the area, just skips away from Trippier, who's hobbling a little bit there, and then Townsend with a right-footed cross. I'm still not convinced about Townsend playing on the left. He's a left footer. He prefers being on the right hand side, and we've seen his crossing this evening just being a little bit off. As we're going to see Guimaraes now coming on for Newcastle.
Yeah, no surprise, but it's a little bit late. You would have thought they would have given him 5-10 minutes maybe after the goal from Trippier, but they've just waited, give him a little chance to be welcomed, I suppose, by the Newcastle fans, isn't it? On a positive evening at St James's Park, he will feel welcome. He'll have a little run out for a minute and job done as far as Newcastle are concerned. You know, good player. I like the signing of him. I've got to be honest, Willock is struggling. Has actually gone down on the floor because he's struggling a little bit with cramp, I think, so he looks the most likely to come off for Guimaraes. He's not really been in the goals this season so far, but the creativity that he brings will certainly be something a little bit different for this Newcastle side.
Absolutely, and all those Newcastle fans just behind the Newcastle dugout, getting their camera phones out just to get their first shots of Guimaraes coming on the field. Joe Willock getting a decent round of applause. He's put in a big effort this evening, Willock. And say it's always when you're comfortable at a big club like Arsenal, it's always a bit of a gamble to make the move elsewhere. But Willock just betting into this Newcastle team now, and Guimaraes now on for him.
Yeah, and as we said, good round of applause from the faithful at St James's Park, as you'd expect. As you say, Willock still a little bit inconsistent. He's still not quite the finished article in that sense, as you probably not expect him to be at this stage of his career. But he adds something. There's plenty of energy today. He's found space. He's been there in midfield, closing down, particularly early on in the game as well. In fact, it looks like it's Trippier who has gone off because Manquillo has come on as well.
Yep, Trippier was hobbling, so he can't finish the game. Javi Manquillo now is the third and final change for Newcastle this evening. We're into injury time because those changes were happening during the start of injury time. We've not actually seen the board as yet. Now we have. Just as I say that, we're going to get 4 minutes, of which we've had 1 minute already. So 3 minutes for Newcastle to see out this 2-goal lead. No change in the other games. West Ham against Watford is actually a minute or two ahead of us, and it's still West Ham 1, Watford 0, and 76 minutes gone in the game at Turf Moor as Burnley and Manchester United still at 1-1. It's certainly not been the sort of blistering start that I think Ralph Rangnick and the Manchester United board were hoping for when he arrived there.
No, certainly not. Very good point for Burnley. Very positive from their point of view at the moment. They need those points. You see a lot of games coming up as well with the ones that have been postponed earlier on in the year. So a lot of pressure on Sean Dyche's side, particularly with Newcastle taking this victory as well. I know Everton are in the mix as well, but you would have certainly looked at a Burnley fan and probably wanted a draw or an Everton win out of this one. You haven't got it. So vitally important that Burnley get something out of that game as West Ham complete the job. 1-0 finished at London Stadium.
Well, here comes Saint-Maximin breaking past the Everton defence. He's into the 6-yard box. Saint-Maximin strikes it. It's off the legs of goalkeeper Pickford and away for a corner kick. It's just not going to be Saint-Maximin's night for scoring tonight, is it?
No, it isn't. He's doing everything, but it's the same move over and over again, and that's not a criticism. It's just what he's good at. He knows how he can play, plays off the shoulder of Holgate, drives past him quite easily, and as you say, he's down to the byline, cut himself back inside. He can either create, he can shoot, or he hopes for a penalty from a lunging challenge. You know, all those have happened so far today. He just hasn't managed to actually get something on the score sheet, but he's very unlucky there. It's a fortunate save from Pickford. He will say that he spread himself well, but I think he's a little bit lucky that spins behind for a corner.
Yeah, well, it was taken short. It was one of those corners where the ball was touched and then the ball was in play, but none of the Everton players realised that until Alan ran across and tried to dispossess Joelinton. Joelinton now gets there and pushes that ball away from Alan, but it goes out for a throw. Got 60 seconds left in this game. It's a throw to Everton now down the right-hand side. And players now, I'm sure will know that there's very little time left in the game. As we can see, Guimaraes there just getting towards the byline, back-heeling that to a teammate, getting a big round of applause as well. Gets another touch on the border, does the new signing. Tries to get away from Dele Alli, runs straight into Van der Beek though. And now Allen finds Dele Alli. Back to Branthwaite. Up towards Andros Townsend on the halfway line. Just being stood up there by Manquillo. Leaves the ball for Branthwaite. Runs straight into Branthwaite. It's going to be a throw to Everton, is it? I think it might be. And Branthwaite waiting to take this quickly. Can only be seconds of the game left now. And plenty for Frank Lampard to think about after this game. Side never really matched Newcastle for physicality. Still got a half a chance here to get forward down the left-hand side as Ali gets towards the edge of the area, runs straight into... Oh, that looks like a painful one there. Runs straight into Joelinton, who's still down. Ball now bouncing inside the Newcastle penalty area with Manquillo getting there just ahead of Richarlison. He actually runs into the corner flag there. There's the Spanish right back before running into Townsend. And Joe Linton still down. And he's a little bit unhappy there with Dele Alli, and he's telling the referee, he's asking the referee, did you see? And looks like Anthony Taylor's not too bothered about it.
No, he's not. Joe Linton has had a miraculous recovery, although he's now having words with Dele Alli. He's not keen on what happened. We didn't really see it, but he's absolutely livid.
He
Joe
feels
Linton.
as though Ali played the ball a little bit too far, and then he thinks he had, certainly from Joe Linton's point of view, there was studs up from Dele Alli. Well, he has got previous for that, Dele Alli, and the referee, I think, might just be deciding to call time there and then. There won't even be time for this throw to Newcastle. It's all over at St James's Park, and a big win for the home side. Newcastle beat Everton by 3-1. And thank you very much for joining us. Myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Steve Pearson. Join us again soon.